We're just weeks away from the International Builder Show down in Orlando. And like we do at every International Builder Show, the Monday night, we do a meetup of Contractor Coalition alumni. So if you're interested in attending, we've got a great event from about 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Stop by anytime. You're going to see builders from all over the country. You've got Brad Levitt, Morgan Molitor, Tyler Grace, myself, and Nick Schiffer, as well as all of our sponsors over the years. If you've never been to the Contractor Coalition Summit before, but you've heard us talk about it, it's a great place to come meet everyone, see what it's all about. So you can register for our May event in Colorado or our November event in Charlotte, or just come and meet and greet and see if you like the vibe. All the details are at contractorcoalitionsummit.com under the Monday night meetup at KBiz. We hope to see you there.
There's all of this standardization, which is how retail functions, because you have to be able to scale it and pump it out, right? And there are certain dimensions that generally work, but I will say, once you start getting into the design world, if you hire a designer, we do things to the quarter of the inch sometimes in furniture, because those dimensions matter greatly to us in terms of how the room comes together.
Today on the Curious Builder podcast, we had Julia Miller in, and repeat guest. 3 years ago, we had her in. You have to go back and listen to that episode. It's episode 25. Today, you're going to want to buckle up, Buttercup, because we cover a lot of topics. We talk about Brunel, a new custom furniture line that Julia and her business partner have developed. We talk a lot about The Expert, her Yawn Cottage, and anything you could want to know about owning and operating a very highly successful interior design firm. Without further ado, here is Julia Miller. Welcome to Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today we have a two-time guest. We got Julia Miller from Yawn Interiors back in studio, fellow Minneapolis native. What's up, Julia?
Hi. That's quite the introduction.
I mean, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm kind of excited to hear it too.
I'm back.
You're back. If you want to know Julia's whole story, go back to episode 25. We did the deep dive on Yawn Interiors, from social worker to world-renowned interior designer. That's my angle.
That's a stretch.
Yeah, well, it's a good stretch. Our second highest download of all time. And we are now going to break it, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go.
So if you're listening to this, go back and listen to the old one, because I think we can make the old one go. You're only like 300 behind the number one.
Okay,
so if we want to make
do
Julia number one twice, go back, listen to episode 25, boost that one up to number one all time, because she's a baller.
I didn't realize I had 2026 goals, but this is one of them
a
now.
joint goal.
Yeah.
And then this episode is obviously just going off the rails.
It is, guys.
The way it should.
Let's do it.
Well, let's do a quick catch up. What have you been up to? What was your highs and lows of 25?
Oh my gosh. So many. 25 for me was an awesome year.
Was it?
Yeah. I felt like things clicked. We had some projects wrapped that we had been waiting on for a long time. We got a couple articles in AD finally.
I want to ask you about that.
So all in all, it was great. Also, Mark, you're taking a photo right now?
No, I'm taking a video.
Oh my gosh.
People want to see behind the scenes.
That's true, they do. Okay, so a high definitely was projects wrapping and some really great press that I feel like, although I don't try to rely on press for external validation, it does feel real good. So we had that, and then we also launched Brunel, which is my third child. So it's a shop and a collaborative kind of experiment between myself and our senior designer, Samantha. So we co-own it, and yeah. It's custom furniture, lots of ceramics and things from Minneapolis-made people. That's just heartwarming.
I want to dive deep into that. That's the main reason. I think I bumped into you when we were around the Christmas time. You and I met for coffee, and I was like, wait, you were telling me about Brunel. I'm like, okay, you've got to come on the podcast. I think we scheduled it like the next day.
We did.
Let's go back a second about Architectural Digest. First of all, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
A super, super big deal.
Thank you.
Walk me through, because I think the only thing I can relate to is like when we won Builder of the Year, in 2019, like every year, it's something you strive for, you want to do, you get it. And there's kind of like this letdown. Like you think like your doors are just going to open and people are going to flood your office and you have made it. And it was just crickets. What is it like when you win a huge national award from a, let's talk about the glow of like the achievement, like how good it feels, how you pursue it. But let's talk about like the business side of it. Like what have you gotten? How long ago did it happen?
Well, so they're just articles, so it's not like a full-on award. But so we had a article published, I think, at the beginning of 2025, or maybe the spring of 2025. But we also had another article like the December of 2024, I think. So it was kind of like back to back. They were pretty quick. And I think for me, press, at least maybe similar to your experiences, it just is kind of like a dud of a moment in some ways, just because press to me is a way to establish yourself professionally. And I don't look to it for any validation because we work for our clients and I want them to have the best no matter what. And I don't care if AD thinks it's great or not, to be honest. When we're designing for our clients. And so, that process of what press we could get doesn't really enter my mind until we're starting to shoot it and I'm starting to see, like what it looks like styled and like what the vibes are and all that kind of stuff. So I guess from a press perspective, I agree. I don't think it's smart to rely on press for business. I don't think that it converts for nearly anybody in our industry. At least I don't know of anybody who's like, oh yeah, just get published and keep getting projects. I mean, it helps to me, with the sense of you're an expert in the field, you have some credibility. And so I think that's what builds better business eventually. But I can't say that we haven't had projects directly come to us from press from press. Like we have had some really great projects. One in Aspen come from some of the AD press we had. There is a link there, but it's pretty weak.
I mean, I was thinking of an analogy because that's how I think. And I think we joked about this last time too, is like I speak in analogies and you're like, I can verify. But I was thinking about like, you don't have a kid so that other people say, oh, you have a beautiful child. But
No.
like you have a beautiful child and you're like, it is validated when someone else likes your child too.
Yeah.
Is it similar to that? Because like you do the work for the client and then someone's like, that's amazing. You're like, thank you. I put my heart and soul into this.
Yeah.
And you appreciate it, but you don't depend on it.
Oh yeah, you can't. I think the rule is you cannot depend on press really for anything. Both that you're going to get press, even if it's a great project, and that the press is going to get you what you think or it should give you. But yeah, I think for me, it's more that I didn't come from interior design. I didn't go to school for this. I didn't have any academic background in interior design. So I think that all along there's always been this fear that like, maybe I'm not good enough, that imposter syndrome, but also that deep-seated wonder of, is what you're doing, aside from your client's experience, like, is what you're doing resonating with people? Is it interesting? Are people excited by it? And, I have to stop myself from asking that question too broadly because our clients are our number one reason why we do this. And if they're happy, I'm happy. But I think that when you're in a creative world and your work is out there, it's a very vulnerable experience. And so to have people like Architectural Digest or House Beautiful or even just anybody that I admire, another designer compliment our work, it gives you a different feeling, I guess. But it's also an emotional roller coaster because that external validation can't be counted on, and it really shouldn't be the motivator to do anything in this industry because your clients' feelings and emotions and how they experience their space should always be number one.
It's interesting. Something I was thinking about when you were explaining that was like a compliment from a peer is different than a compliment from a client.
Yes.
And the clients pay the bills because most of us don't work for our peers.
Right.
Explain how you feel like when someone you respect sends you a DM and is like, congratulations, or like, and you're like, ooh, they noticed me, or like, I mean, because
totally.
everybody feels that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. I mean, I got an email this week from someone that I admire, and they just had said, oh, your name came up in a conversation I was having with this other designer who I also know of, definitely don't know. And he just said, I just thought it was important to let you know that we really like what you're doing. And that was it. Just like a really nice email. And I think that like we in this industry don't do that enough. That idea that like expressing how you truly feel about someone's work, that's not like a really positive Instagram comment that maybe you don't mean wholeheartedly. Like I think, I don't know, maybe it's also, indicative of our society now, but like that truly just telling someone that you appreciate what they've done just because you appreciate it, I think is like not something we are very practiced in. So I think it's important. And I think it does, like you said, it kind of gives you those fuzzies of like, oh, and I think for me, it's like important. I've realized because those people know the sea in which we swim. And I think as much as like my husband or even my best friends, they don't understand the minutia of what it took to distill down someone's personal preferences mixed with budget, mixed with timeline into something that is really meaningful and cool. And so when another person compliments that sees you and understands that because they're doing the same thing, it validates that a different part of the process, I guess.
I think that's beautifully said. I think so many things come to mind. One is like people meet you at different points in your career.
Yeah.
People meet you at different points of like your life. Like,
right.
you and I both have young families, and like as you grow and, I try to be a good dad, you try to be a good mom, like we're navigating, you're juggling all these different things on top of it. And like, I was just thinking out loud, like, I can't wait till we do our next project together because how much we've actually changed.
Totally.
And we only did our project ended, 2 years ago was the remodel that we did, something like that. And so like, and already like there's so many things that have happened that like when you walked in today, my whole team is different. Like Mike is the only person that is still the same. And like, but you're like, who are you? And Joel's like, I'm the money man. And like, Angie's like, I'm the project coordinator. And you're like,
and I'm like, nice to meet you. We haven't ever,
And so I think that's really fun when you get to rework with people and there's like shared experiences and things like that. But back to the earlier comment about getting these, like a letter or getting a thought or getting a special moment. It just reminds me, because you and I are both runners, like, can you imagine at like mile 24 of a marathon, if you're out on a street where no one is yet, let's do miles 18, because everyone's at mile 24.
Yeah, 18 sucks.
18 and 20 sucks. But
yeah.
like, what if someone was just like, you're at an aid station, someone came up to you and be like, hey, you got this.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it doesn't have to be a lot, or it could just be like a pat on the back, or just like keep
gesture.
going, keep going.
But an honest gesture.
Yes.
And I think the other thing I want to say as we were thinking about this too is when we're creating a project. So when I'm looking at materials and I'm like evaluating floor plans, I am 100% in the mind of my client, right? I'm not thinking externally about this project really at all. It's like I'm trying to do the best work I possibly can for that person. And so I think when you start to move it into like press or putting it on your website, it moves into like this other world where other people who don't know that relationship can suddenly judge it as well. And I think that's a very vulnerable experience to put your work out there. So I think that validation that like, oh, this is cool is meaningful because you didn't create it for them. You created it for someone else in a completely kind of a vacuum of an experience. And that was created specific for someone. And then for someone else to appreciate something that wasn't made for them. I don't know. It's just it's kind of, a cool process, I guess, to some degree. Because when I'm creating for someone, I'm not thinking about Architectural Digest. I'm thinking like, this fabric, you're going to love this because you live by the sea and this is very reminiscent of this, or you like soft things and this is the softest fabric I've ever found.
You told me a story that you designed for a man once that brought you like 4 rocks.
Yeah, totally.
And I was listening to the episode yesterday, as I mentioned, when we were working out, or when I was working out, and I was like, that stuck with me. I'm like, what a cool, it makes me like right now I kind of want to write it down as like, I would like the next client that I work with to pick 4 physical things that you feel represent you or what you like. And I'd probably even share that story to give them like an idea. Because I just think it's really, maybe some people think it's woo, but like I just think it really, it makes them stop and think a little bit.
Right. And your job as a designer is to extract that level of information from somebody. Your job is to understand their family structure, what they like, what they don't like, but also like what makes them feel the way they want to feel in their house, and that is a mining experience for me, at least. It's done over time and you find a lot of things that way, but also too, like, it doesn't require tons of information sometimes to figure out where we need to go with the project. And that was a great example where the client was like, I don't use the internet basically, so here's you go.
Some rocks, which would be so cool.
Which was perfect. And honestly, I love that because that's all it took to create something cool.
Yeah. The one last thing on the AD thing is, did you seek out that publication or they reached out to you?
Yeah. No, we pitch it.
So that was my question, because like I was talking to Nick Schiffer in Boston a couple weeks ago, and we were on Misa Hus. Melissa and I are talking about like how like this is outside my realm. Like I've never thought about this, but designers, you guys think more nationwide than I do, and I think I've been limited a little bit because before the Curious Builder, I just thought, hey, I'm a little builder in Minnesota, and I still am a little builder in Minnesota,
and even more regional than that.
Yeah, Minneapolis. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I mean, I'm like a 150-mile radius.
Right. Yeah, your
like
trades
here.
aren't driving to California every day.
I never thought like architectural design, New York. Like, why would I would never like, why would they be interested in this?
Right.
And so like part of it was like lift your head up and look up a little
And
bit.
I still am like, they're interested. Did they know I live in just Minneapolis? I'm kind of not really a big deal, Like I still even have that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
keep going.
walk us through a little bit, because I think a lot of people are interested. Those that know, but the majority of people don't know how this works.
Yeah.
Walk us through, like, what does a pitch look like? How do you do that? The sequence of like the right people. Is it the right photographer and their relationships? Like, how did you go about it?
Yeah, so we have a PR person.
Mm-hmm.
So a PR person for us is an essential component just because PR relies on relationships as well, just as the whole world does. But what we do is I will put together all the photos, and then I write like a project narrative, and I put together all the pieces of the story that were meaningful to us or might be interesting to someone else, whether it's, an architectural thing because the house is cool, or a way that we arrived on a floor plan that's unconventional, or whatever the like kind of thing is about the project. And there's a little bit of information, although like our clients really prefer a lot of anonymity. So like I'm not really interested in making my clients get interviewed all the time if they don't want to do that. But I am interested in telling the story of the project, telling the story of their house and what I feel like is appropriate for their family and that kind of stuff. So when we use pretty much exclusively one photographer, and that is something that also is like could be another podcast, but what I've found is not only the synergy between us when we're working together, but also this idea that our work is communicated in a way that people recognize and can like pinpoint, right? So I think when most people see one of our projects now, they not only recognize the content of the photograph, but they recognize the style of the photograph. And I think especially still feeling like I'm still establishing myself and still figuring all this out, having a brand that feels recognizable is something I value.
I mentioned this last time. When people go to your Instagram or your website, Yond Interiors, and we'll have it all in the show notes, but like it has such a deliberate feel and vibe, and like you want to touch it.
Right. You want to just jump in.
You do.
Yeah.
And like you have a very distinctive,
yeah.
And so I think you were one of the first people that really helped me understand, watching you interview with our client that they ended up choosing you, watching you go through your process. And I what I love in my chair is my job is to match make, right?
Yeah, totally.
So in my position, a lot of people come to me first, and so I assembled the team. So in this case, my wife said, hey, you should really have Julia. So thanks Mel. And so anyway, watching you kind of go through that is like, I'm like your biggest cheerleader. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, remember we talked about the time when you and we sadly didn't get it, the ombre rug?
Oh yeah.
I think I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, please. I was like, could I buy this rug? I want this rug. It was like, but I think that's what I love watching talented designers or just passionate people.
Yeah.
That showcase new things. I mean, we've already talked about things I wasn't aware of even before we sat down. I'm like, this is amazing. And I think I'm so excited and passionate about what other people are passionate about, because you don't know what's going to elicit a reaction in the other person.
Exactly. And our job is to, I always tell clients that like, I don't want to settle, like our goal is for this to be spectacular every single time. And that doesn't mean every item is like their favorite thing. That would be great, but I want them to be like, oh my word, I didn't know, like I had no idea we could do this, or I had no idea that this was possible, or that this color was a thing I was interested in, so all of our projects, and I tell potential clients this too, that like we are a reflection of our clients every time, and our clients and their houses combined, they make a client together. But we are interested in what they're interested in, and we're interested in making it something spectacular every time we take on a project. And where that goes is really unpredictable. And when a potential client comes to us and they're like, well, I don't know, I haven't seen exactly what I was thinking for my house. And I'm like, but that's because we haven't had you, like we haven't had your house. We haven't had your city. We haven't had who you are as a client yet. But my hope is that every project we work on, the client sees themselves in ways they never expected, or they notice that detail that maybe they didn't understand why we had to do it, but now they're like, oh my God, this makes the room, or whatever it is. But it's all of those little moments, because to me at the end of the day, it's like not in a weird way, but like it's a caretaking opportunity. I was a former social worker. I think there's part of my heart that still wants people to feel really cared for and noticed.
It's funny. A couple things came out. One is like, think about in maybe, I don't know, are we the same age or similar? I can't
41,
remember.
I'm
Yeah.
almost
I'm
42.
way older. Yeah, I'm 45. I'm way older than you. Did you write letters to people? Or you didn't do that when you were a kid?
All right. Wait, you mean like as a
when,
child?
Yeah, like a child or a teenager. Like I remember writing letters, right?
Oh yeah,
okay.
I had pen pals.
Okay, that was my
From
point.
camp
That was exactly. Okay, so we got pen pals. Okay, you're not. Okay, then you're old enough to at least know what a pen pal is. Okay, well, you're very young, so I don't know.
I'm 3 years younger than you.
Yeah, well, 4. This episode is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. I've used Pella for 21 years as the exclusive window company on every one of my builds. When people ask me who I trust for windows and doors, it's Pella, every time. Their craftsmanship, their innovation, the top-tier service make them a no-brainer for any custom home builder or designer who demand the best. Whether you're designing something bold or building something with timeless elegance, Pella has you covered. They're also the only window company that has a lifetime warranty on all of their windows. I've gotten to know all of their people at Pella Corporate, as well as locally here at Pella Northland. I'm proud to call them our partners and our friends. Visit Pella.com to learn more and connect with your local reps today. For more information, you can also listen to episode 1, where I interview the Pella Northland founders, as well as episode 109, where we talk all about their latest innovation with the Steady Set window. But anyway, my point in saying this is I heard something really recently that when you were sharing a story a few minutes ago that really resonated with me. I wanted to share it to the audience and to you. And one is like, if you were, so you're talking about your clients, think about it like when you wrote a letter to a pen pal or a sweetheart back in the day, or your husband or your grandma or whoever. Like it's a letter that's very personal between you and them.
Yeah.
But if someone, like if your daughter today got that letter and read it, like they would be able to they would understand a little bit about you, right?
Yeah.
But that letter wasn't written for your daughter or anyone who read it, but they could still get a lot of value out of it. I wonder if that's not a little bit how you design a home for, let's say, whoever. Nate and Nikki, I'll just pick a name of someone we worked with. But let's say someone in San Francisco or California or Minnesota or whatever looks at the work we did and like that speaks to them.
Yeah.
It wasn't for them, but it speaks to them. And the reason this came up, it actually came up in church, was the pastor was talking about like Revelations is a very difficult book. And he was just saying like, hey, this book was written to the 7 churches in like Asia Minor.
Yeah.
And like we're reading it 2,000 years later. Right. And like it doesn't mean we can't get something out of it, but just keep in mind like who the letter was written to.
Right.
And I wanted to bring that up because I think sometimes builders and designers sometimes get too much credit and sometimes we don't get enough credit. When people are on the outside looking in, they just don't know the full story because the remodel was not for them. The new home was not for them. And I hope they inspired. I hope they get something from it. But if they feel like offended or whatever, what if the client said, no, the reason it has to be this way, like let's say it was really blocked because you love color. Let's just say there's a room that wasn't, but what if that person got migraines from colors? Like the client someone who's looking at this on the outside doesn't know those details. You and I do. And I just think having some compassion, but also that's why when you're on the inside,
that's why the appreciation from the peers means something different than it does from someone else or a client or even someone that loves us, because they see the minutia of it all and how it all came to be so specific. And I think too for us, we try not to duplicate nearly anything we do. And that is intentional. I mean, of course, if a client is like, I love this light fixture, I saw it, I had to have it, that's fine. But I'm not interested in duplicating or even making our work copy paste in such a way that if you looked at a project, you couldn't tell projects apart, just because for me, the joy is also in the newness, and that's representative of kind of my life and businesses and ventures I've been trying. But also I think it's how we maintain a personal experience too, because not everybody likes the same thing and not every house accommodates the same aesthetic. So for me, it's like, when we're talking about new clients, I'm always educating them that like, this is a personal experience. So yes, we can take all this inspiration we find on the internet and we can find tons of things you like. But at the end of the day, what we are creating is something you haven't seen before and is something really specific to you. And sometimes it's just for fun because it's a second house and it's not this deep emotional thing. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's your kid's room. But at the end of the day, it's not this copy paste experience for us. We don't source from the same vendors. We don't. Yeah. So the diversity for me is not only what makes it fun, but also what makes it special.
We talked, just because you and I will continue to talk about this forever.
I know, right? Yeah,
and there's 4 other things. Let's talk about Brunel, because I really want to talk about, like, tell the audience what it is.
Okay.
Why did you start it?
Yeah.
And it's only 3 months in, so it's
That's
very,
true.
very new.
It's
like, what do we want this to be? And I've got more questions about it. So let's start there.
So similar, I think that the earlier conversation, while maybe tangential at times, is important for Brunel. So Brunel is a e-commerce product driven website at this point. So it's custom furniture. And then we've also layered in like smalls, what we call smalls, like vases and quilts and, things that are kind of add to cart options that are a large in collaboration with other Minneapolis based makers. So Brunel is kind of a extension of Samantha, who is our lead designer, and she's been with me since the beginning, basically. And my creative efforts towards pretty much getting to market the items we had already been designing for our projects. And just were kind of either selling those designs to a company we worked with in California. So there was a couple of, designs they bought from us and then they remake and sell themselves. But it just kind of came down to one day. We pretty much make, I would say, 50% of the product that goes into our projects ourselves. So we're either designing it ourselves from scratch, or we're working with someone that we know to design something that they have the expertise in designing. So we are not typically buying a sofa that's already been made. We often make our own sofas. We make our own coffee tables often. We make our own case pieces. We make our own beds these days. We're doing it all. A lot because the cost to have a middle person is a lot for our clients. So if I'm buying someone else's work, there's a cost in there. And so by short-circuiting some of that, taking out some of that middle person, we're able to really give our clients a better value, and we're able to do cool stuff. And so it's a win-win on every side. So we're able to give our clients much more competitive pricing for what is, in the end, I think, a higher quality good. And the creative process is also really great for us. I just sent a client 4 custom headboard ideas today, and I was like, hey, we could do any of these shapes. We just kind of drummed them up. What do you think? And so we were already doing that for all of our projects. We were creating coffee tables, we're creating ottomans, we're creating all of these things. And so we just looked at each other. Well, my team looked at me and they were like, hey, Julia, we don't want to sell our stuff anymore. We don't want someone else to sell our stuff. And it's like white labeled or whatever. So nobody ever got credit for it. And, it was not a glorious experience to sell our work. But it was like, I was like, well, this is easy, just whatever, we make it, we sell it. But they were like, we don't want to do this anymore. We put too much time into all this. And so Samantha was just like, no, we're not doing it. We're going to make our own business. And she's like, and I want to be 50-50 on it. Like, this is important to me. And we work with local people that we love. And so it was just kind of this moment of us being like, all right, we're going to do it. We already do this.
So it's just a manifestation of things. Will you create? So who is the end user? Would it be other designers, other builders? Like, what have you experienced so far? Who did you think your buyers would be, and who have you found out so far? Who are they?
Sure. So we intentionally segmented kind of our product offerings in 2 different categories. The first one is highly custom furniture. So that furniture that's available to the end homeowner, so not someone in the trade, is also customizable in terms of like finish and fabric and stuff like that. And that price point to entry is not small, just because it is custom furniture still, and it's like high quality stuff. It's like solid wood stuff, and it's customizable. So we know that like there are savvy homeowners out there that don't want to shop at West Elm, that want something that's heirloom quality, but there really aren't a lot of to the homeowner like places to shop these days that have interesting things that you could put your own paint color on. So part of it was...
what's the difference between like antiquing and sort of bringing back to life an old piece? Like, would that be the strongest competition, or not necessarily?
No, probably like any retail site. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Lawson Fenning or Nikki Kehoe. Some of those are vendors we shop pretty regularly ourselves. And they offer like suites of custom furniture that's higher quality, higher end value than West Elm, Lulu and Georgia, even Room and Board to some extent. So our competition is more retail stores that you would find anywhere in the United States.
Yep, understood.
But I'm also on the expert, which we can talk about as well. But through that experience, I realized like people have a desire for these sorts of products, and I have a hard time referring them to the right places all the time.
Because it's not always what you buy. It's like, this is what I do, but if you can't tell them to do what you do because it's not available,
right,
it feels hollow or feels
exactly.
fake. It's
and
not
they
real.
come to me for a nightstand idea, and I'm like, I gotta shop on these kind of websites because you gotta buy it, and there's just not a lot out there for design-minded people who value furniture. So, you know, obviously our pieces are more expensive, so there's like a category of people that are interested in that. So it's both filling what I saw was a need, both just in my own work, but also in this deep desire for what we are creating locally in Minneapolis to be consumed by other people that are also interested in this. So I think there's like a savvy homeowner kind of category. That being said, I think what's going to pay my bills is our designer clientele, because they are the ones that will shop us over and over again.
And spec it to other people.
And they will change the paint color. They will, and within our trade program, you can change the dimension. You can change not only the fabric. So we provide some stock fabrics for like the homeowner to purchase, you know, we designer fabrics. But if you're a designer and you want to give us your own fabric for the sofa, great. We'll put that on that. So they have lots of flexibility there. And then they also have the flexibility for dimensional changes, which I think is the biggest advantage of being able to offer the perfect fit for your house.
I mean, it's funny you say it. And I would imagine, I mean, you do what percentage of your work is remodel versus new home now?
It's largely remodel.
The reason I bring it up is we had Amanda Burney on the other day, as you know, who's a good friend of yours, and with Curio Rugs. And one of her big things that she talked about was the size of rugs. And her frustration with me as a builder is that a lot of times, and she didn't say this, but like, you know, a lot of builders, that's why I believe in building the team super early.
Yeah.
Including designers. But even designers, she said, will come in, the space will be done, they've picked out furniture, and then the rug doesn't fit. And they're like, I have to custom fit the rug. But like the idea that you can modify within reason a rug, which is not ideal, but if you could, you can do it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can also modify furniture is imagine, because a lot of people, you know, most builders, stereotypically most men, are thinking structural, how does it work, blah, blah, blah. And then designers come in like, how am I going to furnish this space? Like, how am I going to orientate so that someone actually wants to sit down here?
And also, too, like, you need a nightstand that's 23 inches, not 24. What are you going to do about that? You know, like, there's all of this standardization, which is how retail functions, because you have to be able to scale it and pump it out, right? And there are certain dimensions that generally work, but I will say, once you start getting into the design world, if you hire a designer, though we do things to the quarter of the inch sometimes in furniture, because those dimensions matter greatly to us in terms of how the room comes together, and also to our client specifications as well. They have a coffee table book they want to put on there, and the coffee table book is humongous, and we got to make sure the coffee table can serve that.
Well, and you know this. I mean, we're in right now. Our office is, I think it was at 1893s.
Yes.
These old spaces are kind of quirky. They're fun. I live in a 1919 home. Like I like old homes.
Same.
For whatever reason. I think there's just something organic and kind
it
of just
feels
quirky
different
about them. It does. It totally feels different. And you can do wonderful things with new homes. There's a lot of advantages there too. But my point is that when you have quirky things, you have to get quirky with it. You got to be able to navigate it.
And I think for us too, you know, similar to our earlier discussion, we want to offer things to our clients that are heavily specific to them and fit in their house as well with the furniture arrangements they prefer. And I will say, while a great sofa comes in a 76, I need a 78 or a 79 or an 82 or whatever. Because that is how the space is going to work, you know, or that's because this is a family of 4 and they need the extra butt. And so they need 12 more inches or whatever it is.
Butt.
You know what I mean? So
right.
Like that kind of dimensionality is not only to make it look good, but it's also for function too. And, you know, we're all about space utilization. Space planning is one of the first things we do and try to show the client, okay, this is what's possible with what you have.
I have no question it looks amazing. You can build it. It's custom, all those wonderful things it fits. How do you know if it's comfortable? I mean, I know men usually probably, is that one of the first things that men say?
This is the worst question. No, everybody asks it. And I ask it too. And it's so reasonable. And part of it is experience. So like the chair I'm sitting in, right, hits me mid back, and so I know that, and I know
You know that after an hour and a half, you're not going to want to record it
wider
here
sit.
anymore. I know that this seat after about an hour and a half, I'm like, my butt's full, honestly.
Right, but I can look at a chair and I can see, okay, it's going to sit like this because it's built like this. So part of it is that, but part of it is that mining experience I talked about earlier with clients, which is what is comfortable to you. We have some clients that have extreme preferences around heights of arm heights for sofas or back heights for sofas or cushion fill. And some of it is related to personality. Some of them are like, I want a tight back sofa with no cushions because I am OCD about wrinkles and I don't want to tighten anything. I don't want to fluff anything. And so it's like, okay, this is the best sofa for you because this is how you live.
It's personality driven.
Exactly.
It'd be funny, how people think that I'm not a car buff, but how like people can like associate like people that look like cars or like people that look like their dogs. I bet you could do people that look like their furniture. Is that a thing?
I don't know. This is a new terrain for me. But you just start to know people and you start to, and also too, we custom manufacture a lot of our sofas. So we do frame checks. So we build the frames ourselves. Well, I don't build the frames, but
your team.
they build the frame. We have someone literally sit on it, send us photos. We look at the cushion dynamics and how the cushion is going to sit, and we adjust it. Sometimes literally half an inch, sometimes quarter of an inch, sometimes 6 inches.
Wow.
We had a chair once that we drew in CAD, and it looked good. But when they did the sit photo, like the arm was way too short. Like it was just like you couldn't sit with your arm. It was like there's literally no runway for your arm. So we literally had to add like 8 inches to the arm just because it was like this is how this works. So it's a lot more work to do it this way, but the end result is so much better, and I think it's so much more personal to our clients, and honestly so strikingly so much more affordable to some degree too.
That's a really interesting point when you're really, if you're getting rid of the sales side of it and the middleman and the caring and the lodging, all that stuff that shrinks that cost. So it can all go to custom and uniqueness and all those wonderful things.
And also too, we do volume with our custom manufacturers. So, we're great clients for them. So we get great pricing, and we can, if I'm like, hey, I got this project, budget's a little tight, what can I do to get this look, or what changes do I need to make to this sofa frame that I'm thinking of to make it within their budget, and how can I cut down yards of fabric or whatever I need to do. So there's just so much more you can do to retain the essence of a project if you control so much more of the production.
That's amazing. I agree with you. What have you? So this has been in your. How long was this in, Samantha? And you gave us the backstory. How long did it take to create the company, and where are you at right now? Like, give us you've sold some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, where are you? How do you inventory it? Do you go ahead and make it ahead of time and hold it? Like that's a hard thing.
Yeah. So basically, Samantha and I worked on Brunel about a full year prior to the launch. So that was both prototyping pieces that we wanted in our collection, as well as collaborating with local people whose product we would sell. So we sold some, like Ashley Brazil, she's a local ceramicist. We sold some of her, work that was created for Brunel. So you can't just buy it anywhere, but she made a collection for Brunel. So just ideating on that and, just kind of figuring all of the business stuff out in Shopify. But we use Shopify, so that manages some of our inventory. We're trying now to get a little more complex, so we're looking at additional software like Airtable and things like that for inventory management. But the benefit of the way that we have structured our business is, number one, like we only had to make one, basically, in order to sell it. So we had to photograph it, we had to make quantity of one, and that's what we did. So we made one of all of the pieces in our custom collection. And so we just have to sell those pieces as ready to ship pieces. But that also is then the gateway for us to market our made to order collection. So you can buy this credenza as it is because we had to make it for the shoot and make it for production. But you could also customize this. So on our website, you'll see there are made to order pieces and there are ready to ship pieces, and they're the same frames and stuff like that. But that's how we chose to do it. So we minimized how much inventory we did. So all of our custom pieces are technically made to order. That being said, we do have stock of a few things like some ottomans and things like that we made ahead of time, knowing that like those items are things that panic designers come to you for immediately, that they're like, I need an ottoman for a shoot, or I need an ottoman.
Which is great. And you've got them ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it seems like those things, they can kind of keep the meter rolling too.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we did that intentionally. We segmented, I think I didn't get to this, but we segmented it in custom furniture, which is like a big investment. You probably think about that for months. And if a designer is working with you and they're speccing something, you know, we get inquiries for orders all the time, or quotes. We'll fulfill those, but we might not see an order for 6 months. And we know that because that's how we work. It takes me time to get to know how much this costs and what the lead time is, and if my client likes it, and all these other sorts of things. So we by no means expected our custom furniture to roll quickly, but we do hope that it is the bread and butter for the rest of the business, while it supports some of these higher and, you know, time intensive things like smalls, like vases and quilts and, you know, lamps and all the stuff that is more add to cart, but doesn't necessarily give you the financial return. Like, Samantha and I are very clear that like we can't sustain a business on smalls as much as we would love to, because it's like the fun part in some ways. Our bread and butter has to be this custom furniture. And we just, as we create for clients, we'll add to the collection. We'll add, you know, pieces that we're excited about.
Just add it, yeah.
Twice a year is kind of our cadence. So spring and fall we'll have new collections.
That's amazing. I mean, so excited for you.
Thank you.
Do you keep the pieces in the basement?
We have a warehouse.
Oh, you have a separate warehouse.
Yeah,
okay.
We have a warehouse. Yeah, and then we ship out of that warehouse too. So it's a bigger operation. But yeah, we have a pillow pile. So if you want a pillow
pile.
We've got a big pillow pile. And we have some of the smalls at our office too, but no, the big furniture and stuff and that all goes, you know, ships via freight and gets crated, and there's a whole process behind all of that.
I was going to say, like, could I come see it?
You could come to my basement. You could see
Well,
some
I've been
stuff.
to the basement to haul stuff when we haul stuff into our...
But you could come to my work basement.
The work basement.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've been to that basement too.
Oh, you have?
I hauled
You've
some
been to
stuff
all
down
my
there.
basements.
I've been to both basements. There's only two. Is there more than two?
Probably.
I just remember Mike and I trying to haul something big and heavy down the stair, and the ceiling's very short, and I'm very tall, and it was very problematic. It was really heavy, whatever it was.
I remember that.
I would be remiss if I didn't share how gracious you are as a person. I don't think I shared this in the podcast. Don't ask your designers to do what I'm about to tell you. Save yourself a lot of money and heartache. You know where this is going?
I do.
So Julie, we needed for a tour home that we had. I brought some stuff out of my home. Julia was kind enough to give me some of her pieces. We had to make this look great. There were some last minute cuts, and this was our brand, our name. We had to make it work. And Julie's like, I have this amazing marble table. I think you're at your office or out of town.
Yeah.
And so Mike and I?
I think so. Yeah, I wasn't there.
So my project manager and I went over to be clear,
this is my living room coffee table.
Yeah, I know nothing about furniture. To be very clear, that's why I have designers.
Yeah.
I don't need to know this stuff.
No,
I know building.
Yeah.
You know design. We go in there. Your husband let us in. So we grab this table. We can't get out the door. So we flip it sideways. No problem. Sideways we get out, and rather than everyone's going to cringe at this next moment, rather than flipping it right side up the way it would normally sit, we flipped it upside down, and the table snapped in half. And I have a photo of it. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll post it when this episode goes live.
Yeah. And
I think I even sent you a video. And
you did.
And there was dirt, so I look at it was like those scenes that you can't believe just happened.
Yeah.
And so it's in your front yard grass, snapped in two. And I look at Mike, I'm like, I don't really swear, and I'm just like,
oh
man.
no.
And what do I do?
This is quite
and
a
so
situation.
I pick it up, and it hinged back together, but it had a row of dirt and grass, right down the middle.
Yeah.
And I thought it was hilarious at that point in time, because I'm like, well, I broke it. I'm like, already in my mind, I'm like, well, I guess I'm buying her a new table. By the way, I had no idea how expensive these tables are. Anyway, Julia, you were a champ. You were just like, I'm sure inside you were way more fuming.
No, honestly, I was like, ooh, this is an opportunity to get something different. This is a good choice. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for doing this for me.
So anyway, long story short, when you folded it back together and you cleaned out the grass, you couldn't tell.
No.
And then I had no idea. There's marble restorers.
Yeah.
We had rock.
It looks great.
You can't even tell. I was
awesome.
blown away. I've told that story several times.
Yeah,
but
it's true. Anything can be fixed.
Now the whole world knows that I
Don't trust Mark.
snapped Julia's table in half.
Don't give him a stick of your furniture. No, but you can't. You did the right thing. You fixed it. It looks great. I didn't get a new table out of it, so I'm a little salty about that. But
we'll work on it. Next one.
Yeah, break something else of mine. I'm ready.
Aspirations. You're like, break my house.
I like new
want a
things.
house. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Brunel, before we move on to our next topic?
No, I'd say just shop us at shopbrunel.com.
Boom. I know. You know what I'm going to do? I wrote down. I'm I'm going to talk to Melissa at Oho and ask her if we can get a Brunel and Miso Hus.
Oh, you should.
Just to have, I just want it, whether,
Come call me. I know you're listening to this.
I mean, I owe her up for the table. Come on, Mel. Come on. Although we do have some of their brand deals working, so I don't know if it'd be not as furniture.
That's fair.
So,
yeah, I don't need to be in competition. No.
But we got to have something for Brunel.
You do.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
What's more Misa than Brunel? What is? By the way, what is the? Where did the name come from?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Here's the deal, guys. If you start a new brand, you have a lot to think about. And turns out like having things that are social handles that are available, websites that are available, trademarks that aren't already trademarked, it's some pickings out there, folks. It's not easy. And so we had a name originally that we were kind of excited about, and we pitched it to our lawyer just to do all of the requisite checking. And she came back and was just like, guys, this is a freaking landmine. You can't do this.
Can
like,
you share what it is?
It was going to be Tulipan.
Okay.
And she was just like, there's just too much. You can't do this. Like, it's riddled with, lawsuits basically. Because the word tulip was in it. And so it like could expand well beyond what we were thinking. So she was like,
because you wanted to protect it.
Well, we just didn't want someone to come after us or have to rebrand. You know, I mean, it's so much. And so honestly, Samantha and I got to a coffee shop and we were like, well, we spent all our money on the person who's going to help us with this name. We can't afford to ask for help anymore. And so we ChatGPT'd it. Nice. So we literally, we had all of these, like words that we wanted to communicate what the brand was. And so we just were like, ChatGPT, give me 15 names that sound like this, that are, not trademarked, or that sound like could be anything, or, and we had all of these requirements, and we just were like, give me 10 more, give me 15 more. And we both had, our list. We were doing this, together and independently. And we both came with 10 names that we were like, okay, I don't hate these. I don't know, maybe they could work. And Brunel was on there, and we both were kind of like, great, let's do it. And we literally committed within 5 seconds and then kept going.
Does it have a etymology or anything behind it? No.
I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. No, it was not derived from that. It was derived from a word we liked that could have fair. Super cool. The kind of branding and stuff was important to us. And so when we brought it to our brand partner, she was like, oh yeah, a bee is a great thing to work with. And we were like, done. That's amazing.
I mean, I can relate because when we went through the whole Misa Hus brand research and all that stuff. You got to
be careful.
And I wanted to tell a story. So the story was super. I just love storytelling. Well, that's actually in itself is a great story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's move on.
So not all great, not everything has this amazing origin story. Sometimes you're literally in the dark of the night, doing some Googling.
Sure, I've done it many times. And the hardest part is when you find something you're in love with.
Yeah.
And it's taken.
Right. And you have to be cognizant of that because it is there's a lot of people who would like to come after you if you use the wrong name. So just be careful.
Let's talk about the Jan Cottage. So 3 years ago, you were in the middle. You had just bought it.
Yep.
It's up in Schroeder, south of Lutsen in Minnesota, for those that aren't from Minnesota.
Lake Superior.
And it's this gorgeous little cottage. And I think you were just finishing a remodel. Were you doing the remodel at the same time we were doing our remodel together? Because I felt like it was very similar timing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And it was just this beautiful little cottage on the shores. You Airbnb it.
Yeah.
You VRBO it. You use it as a family.
Yeah.
How's it gone? Where's it at?
Sure. So the cottage is, I feel like, just another extension of what I'm interested in the moment kind of thing. So I if you haven't figured out from Brunel and the expert and the cottage and Jan and we're working on one more thing.
We call it diversification.
Yeah, exactly. I just like new stuff. So the cottage is just an extension of that. So I love the North Shore. If you listen to the first episode, I'm sure I talk about it a lot, but basically I love being outside and I love everything the North Shore represents. And so it was an opportunity to mix business and pleasure a little bit with having a property in a location that I deeply love and would benefit from. And also, similar to what I talked about earlier in the show, just this idea that I want people to experience, and this is maybe self-centered in some ways, to experience what I think is beautiful or special or gives them something they don't get in their everyday life, And so I didn't skimp on finishes, and it was really this exercise for me in creating a space that not only I was proud of, but also that I felt like someone would feel restored at. And so, we did waterworks plumbing, and we've got lime wash and plaster, and
did you lime wash all the walls?
No, we have either like a V-groove or a paneling or a wallpaper or a lime wash mixed all
Or
in
a plaster.
together. So yeah, so it was really like this kind of creative outlet. I feel like at the time, I was looking for something where I could just kind of do whatever I wanted creatively, and I'm a big believer in letting the landscape and the setting of a property speak to you if available, and the cottage to me was the perfect example of listening to what was happening elsewhere to inform design decisions. So while I was the client, obviously, and my husband, the client to me was really the lake. It was really the property. And it was really fun to create a project. So it's going great. I mean, we do advertise on Airbnb. No, we advertise on VRBO, I think. I don't actually know if we're active on there. We pretty much self-book. We only self-book. So all of our bookings are direct through our website, yoncottage.com. And a lot of it is repeat customers at this point. But I think with all of my businesses, and I think this is important to acknowledge, I am like a passion person. Finances and all of that, it has to make financial sense and you've got to be smart about it. But I'm just such like I don't know, let's just figure it out kind of person. And the cottage is successful and it's doing great. But I think it's important to note that I didn't go into it as like a rental business, so to speak. I went into it as creating something that I would be happy to exist in the world for a long time. I didn't want to churn and burn something that wasn't good quality or people wouldn't like. But I don't know. For me, it's like I always think it'll just work out how it works out. So I'm not motivated to make gazillion dollars here, and I'm not interested in, like increasing my portfolio in that way, despite the fact I have a lot of businesses. I'm interested in seeing what happens. And I think Samantha and I, going back to Brunel a little bit, feel that way too, that Brunel is its own thing now. And, we're going to give it what we can give it and we put our hearts into it. But where it goes is really up to Brunel in some ways, like we're the directors, but we have a vision for what it could be, but we're not here to be like, these are our metrics. And, I'm just not that kind of business person.
I think, and there's a place for everyone, of course. I love what I love about you is that your passion, and I imagine the people listening and the people that are your friends and your peers in the industry, that's what they love about you, because your passion is forward and you're like, even if this doesn't make sense, I'm still going to do it 110% the way I want to do it. And it's kind of a beautiful thing because you're able to do both. And could it have been more profitable if you cut down the cost? I'm sure it could have been, but it wouldn't have been you. You wouldn't have been as excited about it and all the other things. Now I have a more practical question. How often do you and your family go use it? Because the reason I'm asking is like, I very much want to do something like that.
Yeah.
Problem is I bought land that you can't VRBO. So where our property is, I mean, that's not why I bought it, but I was thinking like, you know what, we're not going to be up there all that much. And it's by Crosby where the biking is. It'd be great. Yeah. But we're on like this one tiny little section of the lake that you cannot. I'm like, oh, for goodness sakes. So once I picked that, of course it would happen to me. Anyway, where I say this, how often are you using as a family? Yeah. And one last question before we move on to the next topic is, what would you do different if you did another Airbnb to make it more profitable?
Okay. Yeah. So our family uses it at least once a season, and we use it for a couple weeks, like week-long times throughout the year. It just depends on holiday schedules and summer schedules and stuff. But we try to get up there for at least a week or two in the summer, and then we try to do a winter trip, and then we're big skiers too, so we'll ski a weekend or whatever here and there. And then I do like a long retreat every year by myself for a week up there, and I have like this whole routine that I do. So yeah, we use it. I would say it's a 4-hour drive, and I have young kids still, so it's not the most attainable cabin you could have, but it is a place that we use a lot and extend to friends and family and stuff too.
Two questions. Your routine about this week, 'cause everyone's going to want to know what that's all about. Because I do. I was like, is that like your planning? Is that self-discovery? Is that reading books? Is that just like taking down the mind? Like, what is that?
It's a lot of hiking. So I do a 15-mile hike. I have a 15-mile hike that I do
every day.
No, I do a long 15-miler one day, and then I aim to hike 10 every other day that I'm there. So I do 5 in the morning, 5 at night. So my routine is I wake up early. I'll do an early 5. And then I'll work. So for me, because I have such a great team and such a capable team, I am lucky to be in the position now where I can kind of like see all the things happening in my world from a top view. I don't often get the minutia anymore. And that week for me has been thinking more deeply about a lot of things. I'm like an arms wide kind of person. So I'm always like, oh, I'll do all of this, but it spreads things thin sometimes, both personally and professionally. And so I really use that time to think critically. I do it over MEA because my husband takes my kids to a farm with his family, and I'm not interested in hunting, so it works out great. Like it gives me the opportunity to think critically at the end of the year kind of about like what I'm doing. I tend to say yes, as anybody might imagine, to a lot of things. And I like to live that way. But I think sometimes what doesn't come naturally to me is that ability to be like, is this what I want to be doing? And I think as you get older, I don't know for you, but for me, when I hit my 40s, I was like, okay, turns out you don't do this forever. Even though it feels like I have endless energy now and I can do a lot, it also is like, is this the direction I want to be going? Is this what is good for me and for my family? Or is this not? Do I need to pivot? Is this the time to really think about that? And so I'm an exercise person. So hiking or running or whatever it is for me is that mental break that I don't get every day. So it's all of that. So I work deeply. Yeah. I try to like take on projects of like deep matter, or even like I'll ask my team, like, can I design something like start to finish, or like we have a problem we need to solve, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I got it. I'm gonna find the freaking wallpaper. So sometimes it's those kinds of things, but it's more global than that for me. It's more like, hey, you got your hands in a lot of cookie jars. Are you eating all those cookies? What's going on here? Yeah. Kind of evaluating.
Well, I love the physical aspect of it, because I get all my great ideas when I'm exercising or running or in the mountains or in the woods. I mean, we won't talk about it all right now, but like Curious Builder Boot Camp and Sauna Camp and all these retreats that people are like, what are you doing? Why are you doing? They're all manifestations of the things that give me energy and clarity and purpose. Too. And I made a thing last year where I felt... We had a cabin in Montana for 25 years up by Glacier Park, and
get me in on that.
I know. Well,
why are you hiding that from me?
They sold it. They sold it 10 years ago because Ashley was in Alaska, I was here, and they're like, "Why would we have a cabin in the middle?" Anyway, and now Whitefish has gone bananas. What you used to be able to buy for $150 is like $1 million lot in downtown Whitefish.
Totally.
It's like, oh my word,
it's crazy.
Anyway, where I was going with this is, where was I going with this? Oh, just time away, getting time. But what are you investing in? And I think that's what your 40s sort of start to teach you is like, are you investing in like things that have a return that feed you? Yeah. And I think your passion for Jan Cottage, your passion for Brunel, those are the things that it's a fuel source that comes back to you. And like we stop wasting our energy on things that don't return energy to us.
Right. And I think when you're naturally a person that is excited by newness, which I have learned is me, you have to do that because otherwise you are cutting someone else short. And I think that like your team isn't getting what they need from you because you're too busy, or your kids are like, hey mom, you're always working, or you're not exercising, or you're not meeting other goals, or you're not having a hobby, or whatever it is. I think that like at some point you're like, oh, this stacks up and I want to be happy and proud about the way that I'm doing this. And for me, that's meant I delegate really well. And like I bring people in all the time. I have no problem being like, hey, you're way better than me at this. Can you do these marketing emails? Can you, so I never want to also assume, I think as people listen to this, that like, oh, I'm doing this all, like I think that as a woman and as an entrepreneur and a business person and a creative, it's really easy to look at whatever I'm doing and be like, oh my God, how? And I think that it's important to recognize it's not only me, okay? Like I have a team at Yond, Samantha and I tag team Brunel. We've hired freelancers to help with stuff that I can't do. Yond Cottage is run entirely by my husband. Like I'm on the expert, but I have limited availability. Like, it's all very intentional, but you do have to evaluate the depths of what you're doing as well at some point, which doesn't come easy to me. I'm always like, it's fine.
I feel like I'm listening to like the advice that I need looking in the mirror right now. This is very similar. Two things. Let's talk briefly about the expert, because you referred to it like 4 or 5 times, and some people may not know what it is. Sure. Give us the brief rundown of what it is, but I have more deeper questions about why you do it and what you've learned about yourself and what you gain from it.
So the expert is basically a virtual 55-minute, although they have a couple of different time options available for mostly interior designers across the country. So it's run by a designer that lives in LA, and it's like a kind of an invite-only situation. So it's like they've curated the list of designers and people they want to have on the platform or whatever. And so then you, as an expert, get to offer consultations, basically. So it's basically these people that come to you who are interested in your work or like your work or have a question specific for you about their house, and you just answer it in that time. So they can upload like documents or drawings or questions or Pinterest boards or whatever ahead of the meeting that you review. And then it's just like a Zoom call, and you're just like, I'm just available to them for whatever it is. So I had one yesterday for 25 minutes. It was a shorter one, and it's a client I had seen many times, and she just wanted to know, does she need an extra 12 feet on her, or 12 inches on her house to accommodate a banquette? Can I get the seat depth I want out of this? And I'm like, okay, well, here, let's draw it. No, you can't. You need the 12 inches if you want this.
Yep.
You're either a dining bench or you're a sofa. So you want the sofa or whatever. So sometimes it's quick questions like that. But then I had another call before that, and it was a couple that has a great house in Vermont. And they're just like, it's boring. We don't like it. We bought everything all at one time from West Elm, and we're in our 50s and we hate it. What can we do?
You're like, that means you have come to your senses.
Yeah, but they're like, we've got money, we don't have kids, but we don't even know where to start. Like, if you don't work in this industry, where do you find stuff? How do you know what you should do and what you shouldn't do? Should you do your fireplace? Should you do a millwork package? Should you replace your floors? Like, it's overwhelming.
How often are you getting then fully engaged? Like, that client seems like then you would modify them into an actual client of Beyond, or how often does that happen?
I could. Yeah, it happens. It happens with some frequency, I would say. I think that the expert is great for clients that want to do it themselves or have budget limitations where they can't hire a contractor. Because, like, sure, I could tell you need paneling here, but, like, I'm not installing that. So you need to hire a contractor, and the contractor has a cost, and, all these sorts of things. So for a lot of the clients, again, it's that design-minded client who knows enough, but they don't know. They want a gut check, either that what they're thinking is right, or they want resources to accomplish their goals because they can't find them on their own. So it's a both and situation. And for me, I find that clients who, are on that platform are looking to do the project most often themselves, if possible. Okay. So if they're not looking for that, then yeah, they would be a good project. Or I've had expert clients transition to full service clients just because they demoed their house already and they don't have any selections. And I was like, I got an hour for you every other week, and that is not going to accomplish this goal. So it's part of it is just that reality testing with some people that like, hey, you are unfortunately not educated and your team didn't educate you on this process. But like, if you're expecting this outcome, which is these magazines you've showed me, this is a whole different ball of wax. This isn't just picking a tile because you're stuck. This is, you need full on help figuring out if this floor plan is going to work. And additionally, you need all your selections. So when I have those clients come, I don't try to sell myself on the expert because that's not what it's for. People know that I do that, but I do try to educate clients that come to me in those fire pants situations to be like, I think you would be better served, whether it's from me or another designer, but I can't design all of these bathrooms in 2 hours.
Right, 55 minutes.
Yeah, every other week.
Right.
So part of it is that too, where they're like, oh, you're right, this is crazy.
How often are you getting, let's call that retail, how often are you getting other designers that want to pick your brain on running? Yeah.
So we're starting the studio table.
And what is the
spring.
Studio Table?
Studio Table is just going to start off as kind of a masterclass series for designers, especially emerging or new designers, on at least Jan's process. So I'm not really interested in coaching. I'm not really interested in like workshops or anything like that. But I have gotten a lot of interior designers on the expert, just literally with their pants on fire, being like, how do you do this? How do you find these things? But also, how do you bill? How do you structure your team? How do you communicate to a potential client what you do? How do you do a presentation? All these questions that like you don't learn. I mean, I didn't go to school, so I don't know, but
they don't learn in school either.
Yeah, this is on the job training. And when you get a big client like that, you got to figure it out and you got to do it quickly. So The studio table is going to start with 4 masterclass sessions, and it's going to be based on our process, the 4 parts of our process. So you can attend the live Zoom, or you can buy the class or the recording after the process, after it's recorded, and, use it as you wish. But basically, I'm not interested in like telling everybody how to run their business. I'm interested in telling people how we run our business, because that's my expertise. And I think that there's a big enough need for people to have that kind of bite-sized information without having to pay for an hour meeting with me, when I could give much more information over a course, a 90-minute course or something like that. So,
and will that be through Yond directly?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because you're right. I mean, it's why, like, my life turned upside down 3 years ago with the Contractor Coalition Summit, like Brad Levitt and Nick and
totally.
Morgan and now the Curious Collectives here locally in Minnesota, the podcast, all this stuff is just, there's such a huge hunger for in just peer to peer. Now, I am more interested in that, where you're like, hey, this is how I do it. I like to get people in the room and everyone.
Yeah, you're such a good facilitator.
I just like getting people together, because I don't feel like I have any of the answers, but I know a lot of people that know a lot of people that know a lot of things.
Yes. And that's one of the best parts about you is you're that connector sort of person.
Yeah, I love getting people together. You're right. I imagine if I was an old grandpa, nothing would make me happier than just a bunch of grandkids around playing a game together. So until I'm a grandpa, I guess you get to do it with us. I guess I get to do it with people.
Yeah,
it's
totally,
amazing. I love it.
Totally.
The last thing, I just mentioned Brad Levitt. You guys sent me, actually, I think it was, I can't remember, I know I got a picture from Rick and Amy Hendel and Brad Levitt out in Oregon. And then Utah, sorry. And then how did we make the connection? Was that coffee? Because you were out there too.
Yes.
Tell us what this mysterious event was. It was like this, I think it's just like this meeting of, it's like, everyone is like, you were there, like Rick and Amy are there. I'm like, what's happening? I didn't get the invite. No, like, it's invite only. I'm like, well, it
was just a networking meeting and really a marketing opportunity for a flooring company that just collected all of the people that have purchased their product and kind of was both networking. I mean, that was definitely, part of the goal, but also education just about industry. And so they had panels and all that kind of stuff as well. So it was really just an opportunity for them to bring together their customers, which is pretty genius.
It was curated, right?
Yeah, the curated home event.
Yeah.
From a marketing perspective, it was bravo. But also, too, from just being able to meet other people who are equally interested in creating stuff that's spectacular and special and detailed, for me was like invaluable. Just to be in a room with people I admire greatly and had, again, felt a little like a small fish in a really big pond. But so that was that event. So so I hadn't met Brad before, but I think, I don't know, I was maybe in an elevator with him, and I the internet exists. So I've seen this man many times on the internet, and I was like, oh, I think Mark, and I know Mark, and, and it's like a speed dating thing, because I don't know anybody at this event. So you're just kind of looking for conversation, and, and I was like, okay, I think I could talk to this guy.
Well, and it's funny.
And the Hendels too. I was like, okay, I know you, kind of, but we've never worked together. So
you guys definitely should work together.
Yeah,
they're amazing.
Totally.
People.
No, So Rick and Amy, if you're listening to this,
they're right down the street.
Let's figure it out.
They're like 400 meters away.
Yeah.
So they were just on a couple months ago. I think that's, you mentioned, I find now I don't know if you found this to be true in like big events, like between all the interaction between social media and videos, events. For us, International Builder Show, for you, High Point, and all these other point things, like West Point, High Point, whatever.
Yes.
But like, do you find that sometimes you get discombobulated? Like, I'll meet people and I'm like, I know you, but I can't remember if we've actually ever met in person before. Do you ever have that kind of moment?
No, because truthfully, I think that I have, not intentionally, but I have like tried to just kind of like silo myself in some ways, just because I felt like I just need to focus on my business. Like, I did not have the bandwidth to engage like widely. I have great design friends like all over the country who are interior designers and locally. Hello, you know who you are. And those are my people. But I had like Rick and Amy. How had I never met them before?
Right.
That kind of stuff. So I feel like now that I'm like in this phase of my career where I'm like, I can look around. I can pick my head up now and I can see some things. So no, I haven't had that, only because I feel like I've been like in the weeds for a really long time. And one of my goals this year is like, I should meet more people. Not because, and again, I'm of the belief that business comes to me if it comes to me. If it's right for us, it's right for us. I'm not as interested in like networking for business sake, similar to press. It's kind of like, yeah, if I'm the right fit for you, that's great. But like, I don't want to convince somebody, you
Right.
know, like I don't want to sell myself to you. I want that to be something that is right for the client and right for the situation. And networking helps with that because you get to know people. But I never want it to be like, oh, here we are trying to each sell ourselves, you know?
I think part of that comes with confidence and,
Yeah,
and being
totally.
older. Like, I think, I mean, and hey, I love sales. Like, I'd be happy to tell you why I'm great for you. But that being said, like, as you get older, you realize like the things that you're attracted to is likely the things that you would want them to be attracted
Yeah,
to you for
totally.
the same reason. And I look at like LinkedIn and, you get like 500 messages where it's these auto responses like this is like, it's just a huge turnoff. Like, I'm not going to engage with a single one of those people. But then
Right.
every once in a while, you'll get the message that is like, hey, I just wanted you to know I've been following your work for a long time. And I just want to say, keep it up.
Yeah.
Like, back to your part about
Yeah.
that's an authentic, real. I'm like, okay, I'll message them back and be
Yeah,
like, thank you.
exactly.
That was a very nice thing. Unless then
Totally.
they hit back up with, well, by the way, I was wondering, I'm like, oh, crap,
If you
I
also want
I got suckered
I
in.
got a studio. Yeah, totally. And that's just it. Is like I want the relationships, I think, similar to you in that way. And I want it to feel natural and organic and all of that kind of stuff. But at the same point, I just haven't had the time for that. But I think 2026, I'm like, I'm ready to party.
So let's end with there. Two things. What are you most excited for in 26? And what are you training for any races? Because I know you like to run.
I do.
You and your brother-in-law.
I know. He's had a foot injury.
Oh, come
so
on,
Patrick,
brother-in-law.
if you're
Come on,
listening to
Patrick.
this, get your foot figured out.
What?
I'm
Plantar
not.
fasciitis?
No, he had like I don't know. He's got I don't know
Something.
Yeah, something going on that he needs to get it figured out. He's working on it. But no, I'm not training for any races yet. But I'll figure. I'll do one. I'll do probably one marathon at least this year. I don't know where yet. And then what I'm excited for. So the studio table I'm excited for, but I think I'm excited because I feel like this is the year where like things are pretty settled. Like Yond is humming. We know how to run a project. We've got a lot of things figured out. We've got such a great network of people to work with. Like I'm not scrambling to figure out how to, make a cushion anymore. So like I feel like so many things right now are just like that in their homes, so to speak, which feels really, really good. And so I think this year, honestly, what I'm excited for is to like see what's happening, what's out there, both from an appreciation perspective, like finally go to some tours and finally, see what's happening with other people, but also too, like just noticing what else is out in the world and what other people are doing, I think is kind of what I'm excited for 2026. So we have great projects coming up, which I'm super stoked about. Hopefully they'll hit press, but so you can see them because we hold them back for a long time. But honestly, I'm just really excited for something I'm not sure I don't know what's going to happen yet.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah. I think so much of the last 5 years for me has been like, I got to do all of this stuff to make my dream happen. And I feel like my dream is right here. Like, it's not perfect and nothing. I mean, I have my fair share of terrible emails and things that don't go well, but I also feel like, yeah, the time is really in front of me right now. I have created a business I'm proud of. We have the right amount of clients. And at this point, I'm really looking forward to appreciating, I think, what comes my way, but also what other people are also making.
I love it.
So we'll see.
Thanks for coming in the studio today.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Happy
me.
New Year. Thanks to the
Yes.
audience. Remember, episode 25. Go get the backstory. We got to make that number one.
Okay.
And then this episode, we got to make number one by the end of this year. Thanks again for tuning in the Curious Builder podcast. We'll have all of Julia's contact info and websites and her 18 businesses in the show notes. But until next time, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor. Share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth, and with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online, and thanks again for tuning in.